welcome to English online classes. In today's class, let us read and discuss the poem 7, that is The Stolen Boat by William Wordsworth. The Stolen Boat by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth, he is considered one of the greatest poets of English literature. Wordsworth and his friend S.T. Coleridge, by their joint publication of the lyrical ballads, became the harbingers of romantic movement in English literature. The episode of The Stolen Boat is based on the experience of Wordsworth's early boyhood days. This is an extract from Book 1 of Wordsworth's great philosophical poem, The Prelude. So, Wordsworth here he writes the poem The Stolen Boat, which is in confession of his childhood days. Okay, the poem begins with the poet confessing an incident from his childhood days, and here he also tells us the nature as the teacher to everyone. Okay, through this poem we can understand that the nature is the teacher for every one of us, and the nature itself teaches what is good and what is bad. Nature makes us feel guilty for our mistakes. It the appearance or the presence of the atmosphere or the nature, it makes us to feel guilty of our mistakes, and it is like a teacher for us. How nature plays a role of teacher in Wordsworth's life, let us see in this poem. The poem The Stolen Boat is one of the experiences of Wordsworth's childhood days. When he was a small boy, he does this act of stealing the boat, and during the childhood days or in that period, children, they like to break the rules especially, and it looks as if an achievement or their astonishment, right? And the boys or the children, they like to do that, and later they realize or they feel guilty or they are scared of their mistakes, and then they confess for that. Here also William Wordsworth did the same thing. Being a boy, he had stolen the boat, and later the nature made him to confess for his mistakes, and the appearance of nature that made him to feel guilty, and it was like a bad dream to him. Let me read the poem. Listen carefully. One summer evening, led by her, I found a little boat tied to a willow tree within a rocky cave, its usual home. Straight, I unloosed her chain and, stepping in, pushed from the shore. It was an act of stealth and troubled pleasure. Nor without the voice of mountain echoes did my boat move on, leaving behind her still on either side small circles glittering idly in the moon, until they melted all into one track of sparkling light. But now, like one who rose, proud of his skill, to reach a chosen point within an unswerving line, I fixed my view upon the summit of craggy ridge. The horizon's utmost boundary, far above, was nothing but the stars and a grey sky. She was an elfin pinnace. Lustily I dipped my oars into the silent lake, and as I rose upon the stroke, my boat went heaving through the water like a swan. When from behind that craggy steep, till then the horizons bound, a huge peak, black and huge, as if with voluntary power instinct, upreared its head. I struck and struck again, and growing still in stature, the grim shape towered up between me and the stars, and still, for so it seemed, with purpose of its own and measured motion like a living thing strode after me. With trembling oars I turned and through the silent water stole my way back to the covert of the willow tree. There, in mooring place, I left my bark and through the meadows homeward went in grave and serious mood. But after I had seen that spectacle for many days, my brain worked with the dim and undetermined sense of unknown moods of being. Over my thoughts there hung a darkness, call it solitude or blank desertion. No familiar shape remained, no pleasant images of trees, of sea or sky, no color of green fields, but huge and mighty forms that do not live, like living men move slowly through the mind by day and were a trouble to my dreams. So this is the poem, this is a part or this is an extract taken from the Prelude, the stolen boat. Okay, prelude in the sense the early experience or childhood experience of the prelude, which includes the childhood experiences of William Wordsworth. And prelude is the like it is a introduction to whom Wordsworth's literary works. Okay, here what Wordsworth he is explaining us in this poem. One summer evening, it's a evening time, led by her. Here led by her in the sense he was called by the nature. In the sense here the thought in Wordsworth's mind to go during the summer evening towards the lake, he calls it as it was a call from nature. Okay, you might have seen at the young, the children especially, not the infants, the children. They do some of the works which are sometimes risk involved or which sometimes it has many risks, and boys they like to do that. Okay, though it is though the parents restrict them, they like to do that. They like to break the restrictions or they like to break the rules of the parents or the teachers, etc. So here also one summer evening, led by her, here he was invited or he was called by the nature. I found a little boat tied to a willow tree. He started to move out of the house and he reached the lake. And near the lake, what did he find? He found a boat which was tied to a willow tree. Willow tree in the sense the tree which is grown near the river. Here it is meaning is given a tree that grows near water with the thin flexible branches, and the boat was tied to that willow tree. Usually the boat was tied to a tree and there was a cave, and it was the usual house or the usual place of tying the boat. And when he reached near the lake, he found the boat which was tied to a willow tree within a rocky cave, its usual home. So what's the usual home of the boat? It is nothing than a willow tree within a rocky cave. Then he directly went and unloosed the chain. He untied the chain of the boat without asking anyone's permission. He did not consult its owner. Just he went and he found the boat, and he was full of spirit and with a full of adventurous spirit, and he untied the boat, sat in that and he pushed from the shore and he started to row. And this is the act of stealth. This is the act of stealing. Okay, and when he stole the boat and when he pushed towards the lake and when he was rowing in that boat, he felt very happy. He was proud of his skills and also he is proud of his prowess, because he thought that he is a great rower, he could row independently, and he was proud of his skills. And also it was a troubled pleasure What do you mean by troubled pleasure here? He was happy and also at the same time he was worried, he was anxious, he was scared. Why? Because without asking anyone's permission, he had taken or he has stolen the he has taken the boat. He has stolen the boat. So the thing it was there in his mind that he had stolen that boat. That is why it is called as a troubled pleasure. The pleasure was mixed with the worries or mixed with the scare, or it was the mixture of happiness and guilty. Nor without the voice of mountain echoes did my boat move on, leaving behind her still on either side small circles glittering idly in the moon until they melted all into one track of sparkling light. So when he started to row his boat, he was very happy because it was evening time, it was about to night. Okay, so what happened at that time? The whole lake was quiet, the whole nature was quiet. Only he could hear the mountain echoes and only he could hear his sound or his movement sound. His boat is rowing and water is also silent. My boat, nor without the voice of mountain echoes did my boat move on, leaving behind her still on either side small circles glittering idly in the moon. So when he was rowing his boat, what happened? When he used his oars in the sense which are the instrument used to push the water back so that the boat could move front. Okay, you might have seen in boating how they do with the pedals. They not pedals. There is a like spoon like instrument is there, and with that they push the water back. At that time, the boat moves front. So here, when he was moving, while with the help of oars, when he was moving the water back or pushing the water back, what happened? The water that made the circles, and those circles were glittering with the moonlight, and until they got clear, there was no sound of anything, and it was quiet and calm until they melted all into one track of a sparkling light. So while moving, it was there was no trouble or there was no any problem for the boy or for the poet. Okay, it was a pleasurable journey for him. He was proud of his skills. And while moving in the lake, he reached the lake, the midst of the lake, or he reached the middle of the lake, and he had set one target. And what's the target? That is the craggy ridge or the mountain, the big rock or the mountain he could see, and there he could see the horizon, the skyline, and that destiny he fixed as his, that place he fixed as his destiny. Now, like one who rose proud of his skill to reach a chosen point with an unswerving line, I fixed my views. Unswerving line is the horizon. Upon the summit of craggy ridge, the horizon's utmost boundary far above was nothing but the stars and the grey sky. So he could see the mountain, and there was a horizon where the sky and the ocean that meets. That line is called as a horizon. And Wordsworth, as a boy, he fixed his eyes or he fixed his destiny there, and he was about to, and he decided to row to reach that point or to reach that destiny. And while he was moving, he saw only the mountain, and above the mountain there was only sky and there are only stars and grey sky. Nothing else he found. Then she was an elephantess, while he was moving with the boat, he felt that it was an elephant penis, because he did not find it hard to move that boat. In that silent lake, there is no problem at all. And while he was moving, he find his boat as elephant penis. Why? Because it was moving with the so ease. Okay, and also he compared him and his boat as a swan. Okay, then the horizon's utmost boundary far above was nothing but the stars and the grey sky. She was an elephant penis. Here she refers to the boat. Okay, she refers to the boat. Here he personifies as the boat as his companion, or he calls boat as she. He personifies the boat and calls it as an elephant penis. Dear students, this sentence will come for figure of speech. Okay, here two figure of speeches are used together. She was an elephant penis. Here you can say it as the figure of speech used here is a personification, and when you say an elephant penis, this is the metaphor. He calls his boat as an elephant penis. Elephant penis in the sense small ferry like a boat, and it was moving so swiftly and so smoothly. And lustily I dipped my oars into the silent lake. Vigorously he started to dip his oars and push the water back, and he was eager to move forward with the spirit of adventure. And here what happens? I rose upon the stroke. My boat went heaving through the water like a swan. Though he pushed the water, or though he oared with a smooth or slowly, the boat was moving like a swan, without any difficulties, without any troubles, without any hurdles. It was swiftly moving. And what happened at that time? When from behind that craggy steep, till then the horizons bound, a huge peak, black and huge, as if with voluntary power instinct, upreared its head. It is about night. Only he could see the grey sky and only the stars he could see. Everywhere it was going to become dark, and at that time suddenly he felt, or suddenly he was struck with the thought that until there he could just see the craggy ridge, and now the craggy ridge that had blocked the grey sky and the stars, and now he started to feel afraid, or he was scared now. Now what happened? Heaving through the water like swan, when from behind that craggy ridge, till then the horizons bound, a huge peak, horizons bound. Behind that horizon he could find that huge rock. It was there. It was becoming huge and huge, big and big, and it was taking a terrific image, black and huge. He felt as if with voluntary power instinct upreared its head, as if it is moving, or as if it is growing, or it seems like lifted his head and looking at whom? At the boy. Now his heart was struck once at once. He felt his all spirits, all his spirit of adventures, once it was blocked or once it was struck, he was afraid. As if with voluntary power instinct upreared its head. I struck and struck again. He was struck. His speed, his pace, or his the speed of rowing the boat, that was struck. He started to tremble. He started to tremble. He started to shiver. Upreared its head. I struck and struck again, and growing still in stature, the grim shape towered up between me and the star, and still, for so it seemed, with the purpose of its own and measured motion, like a living thing strode after me. And as he saw that as he was moving, he saw that mountain or that craggy ridge. It was taking a big shape, and as if he felt that it is chasing him. It is coming towards him and taking a big steps like a monster. The rock or that mountain appeared to him like a monster who is moving towards him and who is threatening him. It towered up between me and the stars, so it blocked the stars and the grey sky. In the sense, there was a darkness, and in that darkness, the childhood spirit was lost. Okay, it is the common thing. Sometimes the children, they are filled with the spirit, and at the same time they will be afraid. They do the things and later they were afraid. And same thing happened with the boy, or happened with the Wordsworth. So with the purpose of its own, and measured motion like a living thing strode after me. Like a living thing, it was growing in a height, and it is strode after me in the sense, with the big and heavy steps, it is moving towards him. After moving towards him, whether really he felt, whether really the rock moved towards him, and later what happened, let us see in the next session. The peak or the craggy ridge appeared as if it is coming with the big steps towards him. Later, when he saw that scene, or when he saw that craggy ridge or that mountain, he started to tremble. With trembling voice, I turned and through the silent water stole my way back to the covert of willow tree. Thereafter, he did not have the dare to continue. He started to tremble, or he started to shiver because of fear. He was scared and he could not continue. And there itself he turned around and he started his way back to home. Then he with the trembling voice, I turned, and to the silent water he stole his way. How with the spirit he went, with the same speed he came back, and he said, I stole my way back to the willow tree. And he left that bark, or he bark in the sense boat. Okay, his boat near the willow tree, or near the boat dock. Okay, it was the place, usual home or usual place of the boat. Okay, and there itself he left the boat and he moved towards his house. From how did he go to his house? With the there in her mooring place, I left my bark, and through the meadows homeward went in grave and serious mood. In meadows, through the fields, he went back to his house, and while going, he was filled with the grave and serious mood. He was scared and he was guilty. How he went with the spirit and happiness that he lost, and in that place the grave and serious mood that appeared. But after I had seen the spectacle, for many days my brain worked with a dim and undetermined sense of unknown moods of being over my thoughts. There hung darkness, call it solitude or a blank desertion. So after that, when he came back, all those terrifying images, all those terrifying experiences, they were haunting his mind. That made him think about his guilty, or that made him feel guilty. Okay, and what happened here? I have seen that spectacle in the sense, the view or that scene of that craggy ridge which is upreared its head and strolling towards him, that he saw, and that those images he could not forget, and they were haunting his mind at all the times. For many days my brain worked with the dim and undetermined sense of unknown mood. So every day he was suffering from those terrible or those troubled memories, and he calls it as solitude. He felt loneliness. He felt it as devoid of thought, blank desertion. He felt as if he is guilty and he is punished by someone. Then, over my thoughts, there hung a darkness, call it solitude. Solitude in the sense, he felt loneliness. So, whenever we commit mistake and when we are taught about that and when we find that it is a mistake, definitely those thoughts are haunting us and we feel we don't like to speak with anyone or we want to be alone. So, here even the poet, he felt loneliness. No familiar shapes remained, no pleasant images of trees, of sea or sky, no color of green fields, but huge and mighty forms that do not live like a living man moved slowly through the mind by day and were a trouble to my dreams. So what happened? What remained? While moving his boat, while rowing in the lake, he saw many scenes. He saw the beauty of a sea, the beauty of a sky, and also he saw the beautiful trees. Also he saw the fields, the green fields, everything. He enjoyed that beauty. But all those beautiful scenes, they did not come to his mind. Only that terrific scene or that horrible scene that had came to his mind, that is the scene of that craggy ridge. He enjoyed, while he is rowing, he enjoyed many beautiful things, but all those beautiful things, they did not come to his mind and made him happy. But one thought that haunted his mind and that snatched away or that took his all pleasure and happiness. And then he moved slowly through the mind. Every day it was haunting. Even at night in his dreams he used to get bad dreams, or it was also those memories or those experiences, they were troubling his dreams also. Those terrific experience or those that terrific scene or that horrible scene that was troubling in his dreams too. So here you can see those nice images like trees, sky, sea, fields, they did not remain in his mind. Those shapes gave him troubled dreams. Okay, so this is what Wordsworth he is explaining, or he is sharing his experiences of his childhood days. Here, the boy he could not remember those nice experiences. That happens in everyone's life. That is the truth. If we do one bad thing, all good things will be what? They will be vanished with that bad thing. All images, all good images, good impression will be vanished with the one day. So when we do the bad things, or when we commit mistakes, or when we do some things which is against the rules, at that time we have to think. Why? Because one bad deed that could wash away, or that could demolish, or that could destroy all the good images whatever we have built. And here Wordsworth he is sharing his experiences, and here we can see the nature by itself making the boy to feel about his guilty or about his act. Okay, and it is a sneaky act, or it is the act of the boy. It may not be considered serious, but the boy he feels it as serious, and he feels that the nature itself is troubling or punishing him because of stealing the boat. He knew that stealing the boat is not a right thing, but still he did that, and later he realizes that it is a mistake, and later he realized that the nature is the teacher, and which punished him through those bad dreams or through those bad experiences. This is what Wordsworth he is sharing in his prelude or in his literary work. Thank you.